Hi guys, I'm here in the studio and I'm getting ready to start my claymation project for our final. And I wanted to hop on and give you some tips as to how to get started and how to be successful. So if you can watch this video all the way through, I'm going to take you through the entire process. I'm making a small claymation in this video to talk you through problems you might encounter and do some problem solving for you here on this movie. So first thing, you want to find a spot in your house where you can set things up and keep them there for about a week, maybe even 2 weeks untouched. So I'm here in the classroom and I'm doing this in several increments. So I cleared off my table. This could possibly be a desk somewhere at your house. It could be somewhere along the floor in the corner of your room, assuming you don't have pets that come and tinker around with your stuff. It could be on the counter, just somewhere out of the way where things won't bump it or people won't have to move it. So I have a clear table. First things first, you want to try to set up a backdrop. Now I'm using a piece of cardboard and I just taped a little bit of a scrap piece of cardboard to the back to use it as like a kickstand, kind of like that. You could use anything rigid. You could even use like a wall that you have along the side of your room, or the back of the wall, the backsplash of like the counter, or you could hang a sheet or something, prop something up against a chair at your house to create a hard surface for your background. I also like to lay down something because the clay is oily, so you could use one of your scrap piece of papers from your clay kit to keep the oil off of the ground, your carpet, or whatever surface you're working on. Okay, so you want to get something to stand up behind it, something to protect the oil from getting all over your house. You are required to make a background, a prop, and a character. So I kind of sorted through my ideas. My background, I'm going to just use some blue paper. You could also color or draw something for your background. Now this is going to fall. You can see if I don't attach it, so I'm just going to use a little bit of some masking tape to tack it to my background, whether it's my cardboard, my wall, a sheet, something you have around your house. So you're going to have to search and find to make this work together. Okay, I'm just going to kind of tack that up there so it does not fall over the course of a couple days. All right, the longer you're taking to do this, the more you want to get it tacked down so it doesn't fall. I also created a tree for my prop. And all I did was use a little bit of paper for my green. I opened my brown modeling clay and I stuck it to my popsicle sticks for my goodie bag, taped that on, created a little kickstand so it didn't tip over. And I want to use a tree for one of my props, kind of tuck it under my kickboard to keep it from tipping. And then I did not want to see this popsicle stick here for the leg or the kickstand, so I created some grass, and I just took a sheet of paper that I found. You could use anything around your house. If you have leftover paper from your origami unit, you can use that. You can go search and find. You can go to the store and buy whatever you need. Be creative. And I just folded a little bit up and cut kind of a jagged edge here to represent grass, and I'm just going to set that right in front to make kind of a grass-ish floor. Okay, so I have my background, I have my prop. Your characters you're also going to be developing. I want to give a warning though, because it's kind of nice to set all of this up before you make your character to see your sizing. Because one thing that happened to me, and it has happened a lot in the past, is you'll sit down before you set any of your backdrop up or your ground, and you make this beautiful character. So I created a blue bunny. My little girl is really into bunnies, so we do a lot of bunnies right now. And I just pinched it out of one hunk of clay. And I just wanted to give some warnings, because as you're making these beautiful characters, if you make anything too thin, this could possibly break in the process. Or if you pinch the legs really thin when you're designing your character, this has to be able to stand and move. You know, if I have really tall, long legs, one, they could mush as I'm trying to set it up. Two, I can't even balance this by itself. It's just going to fall over. You want your characters to have the ability to stand and move. Okay, now this is a little bit jiggly because the legs are pretty thin. So if I do want some thin legs or appendages, I would recommend putting something in here like wire or a popsicle stick or a pencil or something that's hard to keep it from bending and losing its strength. Okay, you can build an arbiter before you do that. But secondly, this character is actually way too big for my scene, and I want to show you what it looks like through the camera lens. Okay, so I want to set up my camera before I do any character building. You have a couple options. If you have a tripod at your house, this is actually the best option, using something to hold your camera or your device. So I'm just going to use my phone when I do my photographing, and I'm just going to slide my phone into the tripod and aim it at my setup. Okay, so you might have to set this up and look at this through the lens of the phone before you even start making your characters and your backdrop. Okay, so there's a couple things that can go wrong here. And I want to show you what that is. Okay, so I have it tightened in my tripod. You can see what I'm looking at, okay, through my camera lens. So first off, if I'm looking at it through the camera lens, you do not want to have extra things showing around the edges. So I can see this white paper, I can see the background over here, you see my fingers through the camera screen. That all needs to be omitted and cropped out. I don't even want to see this little white strip here at the top. Okay, so I'm going to have to zoom in. If you can't get your tripod any closer to the table, I might actually have to zoom with my screen. Okay, so you want to get it positioned where you can't see anything except your background and your props. Now, if your props are too big, you might have to make them smaller. And you won't know until you set this up and look at it through your camera lens. Okay, so that is much better. I can't see any of this background space around through the view of the camera here set up on the tripod. Okay, now not everybody is going to have a tripod at home. So what I would recommend if you don't have a tripod is find something heavy. Okay, now I just pulled a vase out. Most of you guys have vases because you took them home this week, or you should have taken them home. This is heavy. Okay, this will work as a nice support system to lean your phone against. I want you to be aware though, because phones have a camera on the top left corner. You want this to be high off the table. I don't want to set it where the camera is close to the table because the point of view will be too low. Okay, you want to make it where it's a little bit higher off the table, you know, about that far, or as far as you can go. You do want to film it landscape. You do not want to have your phone upright like this, portrait mode. You won't get a very wide picture and it'll be very, very tiny. Okay, so it does have to be landscape. So I'm going to use my vase to lean up against. My camera is right here on my phone. It's higher from the table. And I'm just going to come over here and just kind of lean it. Support it against my vase. And of course you can do this with any obstacle you have at your house. It could be your vase. I could even use like a chair leg or a table leg if I'm on the floor. Something heavy that won't easily tip over. Okay, so you can see here this is way too close. I can't even see my tree here in my viewfinder, so I'm going to have to zoom out. And of course this changes the point of view, so I'm going to have to move this around so I don't see any of the unwanted background. Okay, so I'm going to figure out where it looks best, and that might be my best spot right there. Okay. Now, once you figure out where it looks good, you have to mark your spot because there could be a chance where things get bumped or shifted through the course of these next couple days. So, I know that I want to use my phone. Let's say my vase works best over the tripod, and I would just mark this with a little bit of tape. So I'm going to tape here on the table where my phone goes. Maybe put a little strip here right in the front. I'm going to mark where my vase goes. Tape that around, or if I'm on paper, I could even draw around the base. If you put paper down, you could draw where things went. I'm going to mark where my background, this part, is setting. So you want to mark everything out. Okay, so my background sets there. It sets there. Now, we don't want things to shift, and you might not plan for things to shift, but they could shift, so you want to play it safe. I'm going to mark where this background is lined up. Okay, so mark everything. That's your first task. Make sure you set it up how you're going to support your phone without it moving. You could even tape your phone when it's time to photograph to my vase somehow, so this doesn't fall forward as I'm photographing, which I am actually going to do a little bit better when I start to take my pictures. Okay, so that is the first thing you're going to do. Set everything up, look at it through your camera lens, find something to support your phone, whether it's your heavy vase, whether it's a chair, whether it's a table leg, whether you have a tripod at home that you can set up to put your phone in. Or your iPad. If you're using a computer, computers usually are pretty sturdy by themselves, so just mark where your computer is setting. Okay? So do that first. And then join me in my next section for how to start the video. See you soon.